Hello everyone and welcome back to F1 2021 for the start of my Formula 2 season. Of course the 2021 F2 cars haven't quite been added into the game yet. I'm sure that will happen in due course, but for now we've got the 2020 cars and that is good enough for me for the time being. So we're going to do a modified season as we've already done the regular season in the previous game. So to mix things up, we're going to try and modify the calendar a bit and make it as exciting as possible. Replace some of the more boring rounds like Monaco and Spain and Hungary with some more interesting tracks. I think Brazil makes an appearance along with Shanghai, which unfortunately won't be appearing on any calendars this year, along with a few others. I think Japan and Melbourne make an appearance too. We'll get into the calendar shortly. But yes, as you can see on screen, we're going to be driving the #1 Dams car of Sean Gelael. Unfortunately, the Indonesian driver wasn't able to complete all the rounds last season due to some injuries, but thankfully there won't be a problem for us in the game. Now, as for our teammate, of course, we'll have Dan TICKTUM. He should be a solid driver, and that should give us a chance to go for the Constructors' Championship as well. Of course, Carlin will be strong with Yuki Tsunoda and Jan Daruvula, and Giuliano Virtuosi with Callum Ilott and Guan Yu Zhou, and of course you can't look past Kramer with Schumacher and Schwartzman as well. But let's get straight into it and see what this season has in store for us. So here is the finalised calendar for our custom season. We start things off around the Bahrain International Circuit. We then move to Shanghai, followed by Baku, then off to the Red Bull Ring, Silverstone, Spa, Monza, Singapore, Suzuka, Mexico, Brazil, and we decide the title on the streets of Melbourne. And with all of that said, let's get straight into the first round. It says qualifying, but we're not actually going to show that because it just makes the videos too long. So we're just going to skip straight into the race intro, and it'll be a surprise where we start.
Welcome to Sakhir and the Bahrain International Circuit, where the grid is forming up ready for today's race. Bahrain represents an exceptional 3.36 miles of racing. Lots of opportunities to overtake throughout its 15 corners. Now, this track has a reputation for being brutal on the rear tyres, so keep an eye on how these young drivers manage their rubber. Strategy here could ultimately determine the winner of this race. Davide, you're a three-time winner around here in 1 week, I believe, back in 2012. How on earth do you make the tyres last around this racetrack? They degrade so quickly.
To be honest, the key to the race is having a good start so you can get your car into a good position. Then save the tyres as much as you can and push just at the end.
As we're now moments away from the off, let's take a look at the grid order in which they'll start today's race. Sean Gelael lines up on pole position, with Yuki Tsunoda alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Schumacher, TICKTUM, Pedro Piquet and Schwartzman, Giuliano, Sato, ALESI, Marcus Armstrong, Daruvula, Matsushita, Callum Ilott and Samaya, Aitken, Markelot, Joe and Louis Delatraz, Lundgaard, Dragovic, Mazepin and Roy Nissany completes the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So here we are on the grid then for the feature race in Bahrain, and it is going to be the usual one stop in Formula 2, the softer compound to the harder compound. In this case it's the medium and hard compound tyres. Now, as for the weather, it's all clear. As for our qualifying position, we are first on the grid. So 4 points in the bag already in this championship if we add to the 5 red lights. And away we go for the Bahrain feature race, and it looks like it's a decent start for us as we get ourselves off the line. Yuki Tsunoda maintains second position. Dan TICKTUM's off to a nice start as well. We can just see in the background there. But now through the first corner we go in a bit deep, a little bit distracted looking at the cars behind, and that's compromised our exit as Tsunoda's got a great one, and he's going to have an opportunity to get past as we head towards turn 4. We have a little cover of the inside line. Tsunoda looks to the outside as we head through, and Tsunoda's not quite going to be able to get there. We're going to maintain the position for the time being, and we're going to cover him off and maintain the lead for the first sector now through the middle one, the trickiest part of the circuit on cold tyres, I think, and as we head through a little bit wide out onto the curb, lose the back end, and sliding, just about managing able to save it, but just running wide there. And now Tsunoda's up the inside. We can't really get back onto the circuit until we gain some speed and we can get back over the curb. And Dan TICKTUM's now around the outside, and he might be able to make the move here as we've got dirty tyres and still very cold as well. And Dan TICKTUM drives all the way around the outside and makes that move stick. So we're losing a lot of time and positions here at the start of this race as Mick Schumacher's putting the pressure on now. We need to get our act together. Missed the apex again there at turn 11. So we've got no rhythm and flow at the moment as Schumacher is going to be right on us in a short matter of seconds if we don't get our act together. And now we run deep into the next right-hander, and that's going to cost us more time as we can't really accelerate too well off the circuit, and Schumacher gets past on the exit. We're going to have a look to the inside and try and get back up the inside into the final corner. We do try and make the move. Schumacher sees us coming. We're very late on the brakes, a little bit too deep. Thankfully Schumacher leaves us enough room to get the car stop turned, and we do get back ahead of Mick Schumacher, but he's got a nice switch back and he's going to come back towards us on the right hand side, so we head towards the first corner, and Luca Giotto getting involved as well. We also need to watch out for Robert Schwartzman. We're really holding up a queue here. Schumacher's got the move done up the inside, nice and late on the brakes by the German, and he's got that move done, and Schumacher retakes the third position in this one, and now he can try and chase down TICKTUM and Tsunoda, who are up ahead in close proximity to each other. So they will be trying to pull away while we are fighting, and it's not really worked out too well for us as we move on. We can see we've lost a lot of time, but the fastest lap of the race shows that we do have some pace after we found a bit of a better rhythm. So that's good, and now we can try and do just a little bit better and try and get our act together. And as we continue to set green and purple sectors, we're going to use this opportunity. Even though our tyres are good, we're going to try and get an undercut and gain some time on them, because we've lost too much to be able to get back in this fight on pure pace. So let's hope we don't get held up, as the team ahead were rolling out the wheels there for their car coming in, but thankfully I think it was Robert Schwartzman right there behind us didn't hold us up. We got out just millimeters in time to stay ahead of him, milliseconds I should say. So great stuff by the Dams team to get us out in time there. But yes, we've got cold tyres now as we're trying to get some temperature in them, weaving along the second straight and trying to generate that bit of tyre heat that's going to help us get this undercut and close the gap to Tsunoda, Schumacher and TICKTUM up ahead of us, and hopefully we can get ourselves back in this fight. So as we continue on then, under the shadow of the grandstands, where are the top three going to re-emerge? There they are at the apex of the first corner as we hit the brakes, and you can see we're pretty close to Mick Schumacher, closer than we were. So by the time their tyres are up to temperature, we're going to be back in this fight, and we're going to be ready to take the fight to the top three once again. So our podium is still on the cards here, because on these tyres I'm feeling much more comfortable, a lot less mistakes, and just in general feeling much faster. So I'm loving these harder compounds. So let's go get them as we open the DRS in behind Mick Schumacher under the shadow of the grandstands once again, trying to get some slipstreams, gaining slightly on Mick Schumacher as we set the fastest lap of the race. Have a look to the inside, but overall just not close enough, and we have to stay behind the German for the time being as we're sliding through the first two corners. They're very tricky, those low speed corners. The F2 car with very little in the way of downforce struggles in those parts of the circuit. Nice challenge though. But speaking of challenge, one driver struggling with that section of the circuit is Pedro Piquet. The Brazilian goes for a spin in the Charus car and he tumbles down the order. Unfortunate for him. Bad mistake there, and he loses a massive positions. Eventually he finds reverse and gets going once again and gets his Charus car pointing in the right direction, but he's dropped to the back of the field and he'll finish last in this race for sure after that mistake. We continue on then, and we do catch up to Mick Schumacher, and we're very close actually behind the rear wing of the German. So let's see if we can make a move on the red and white Prema as we continue to try and accelerate out of this third to last corner. We've struggled with this part of the circuit and staying close, and you can see that sort of happening again. We're just not really there to make a move on Mick Schumacher. So let's hope that we can get a good run through this final corner, a little bit deep on that occasion. You can see just not being able to carry the momentum after the just yeah, going a bit too aggressive there. So we need to connect this set of corners well enough to be able to stay close and get the DRS and make a nice move on Schumacher into the first corner. So that is what we're going to try and do. Looks like Schumacher might be dropping back from this top 5, so if he drops out of DRS range, we could be in the money here if we can get a good exit out of the final 2 corners. So here we go. We're reasonably close this time. We might be in with a chance as we have a look, and now we just have to sit behind, a little bit of a nudge through the final corner, and now with the power down as we head towards the first corner. DRS open for us and not for Mick Schumacher. This is the opportunity we need as we head under the grandstand. We've got the momentum. Schumacher's going to defend. We go to the outside and we're going to try and make the move to the outside of the first corner. Try and carry the momentum, but we just got none. A little bit too aggressive there, and we had to get back to the right at some point. Otherwise we would never make turn 2. And yeah, just chose to lose that position for the time being and cost ourselves less time, because I don't want to drop too far behind the top 2 either. It would have been a very slow run all the way up to turn 4 if I didn't pull out of that move. So I decided just to go for the faster overall option. At least that's what I'm hoping. But now we're right on the back of Mick Schumacher again, actually very close along the run to the final corner. We might be in for a move here if we can get everything right down the inside into the final corner. Late on the brakes, missing the apex slightly, but we make the move on Mick Schumacher. Schumacher tries to switch it back to the inside, but he actually made a bit of contact with us there. And Schumacher, potentially with a bit of damage to his front wing. We'll have this look on the replay. You can see he tries to just plant the power and get a good exit, but a little bit too eager. And yeah, a bit of contact there with the side of our car. Here's the onboard with Mick Schumacher. Nice switchback, but yeah, just a little bump there as he was just not turning right sharp enough there on the inside line. But anyway, we have managed to make that overtake work, and now we're on the back of Dan TICKTUM. Much more controlled run through the final corner here, and we are looking good to try and make an overtake on Dan TICKTUM. We've got a good slipstream here. TICKTUM does have DRS from Yuki Tsunoda, but with the slipstream advantage we have, TICKTUM not really using the slipstream, is pulled out a bit there, and we go down the inside of our teammates. Nice and controlled move this time. Still slightly deep, but we do make a nice clean move on our teammates, and that moves us up into 2nd position. And TICKTUM down into 3rd. Now we can try to chase down at Yuki Tsunoda. Here's the onboard with Dan TICKTUM, and he very nicely leaves us a bit of space to work with there, and we take that position. Now Yuki Tsunoda up next, the Japanese driver in the car, and he's led all but the first half lap of this race since we made that mistake. Now let's see if we can take the lead back in the closing stages. We're on lap 27 of 32, so only 5 laps to go. We don't have a lot of opportunities left to get past Tsunoda, so we want to do this sooner rather than later. So here we go then, as we are very close towards the final couple of corners, trying to get him to defend, trying to get in the mirrors, but Tsunoda's not really having any of it, and he maintains the racing line. He's not playing any games. He knows what to do, trying to drive the car as fast and straight as possible, and it's worked out for him as he's got a good exit. But with the DRS advantage, we might be able to do a little bit better in a straight line as we head under the shadow of the grandstand, out the other side, down the inside, and later on the brakes than Tsunoda, but we might be a bit too late as we just can't get us stopped, and we run very wide. Yuki Tsunoda's going to hold on to the position as we get back onto the circuit, and we may actually be lucky to hold on to 2nd here as we're trying to get the power down, sliding on the exit of turn 3, and now TICKTUM to the inside as we head up towards turn 4, but thankfully we just have enough momentum to stay ahead of our teammate. He backs out of it, stays behind as we run wide, but TICKTUM not able to make the move, and we stay ahead of our fellow Dams driver. Wow, that's getting hard to say. Now, as we continue on, that is Giuliano ALESI out of the race with the mechanical failure. Unfortunate for the Frenchman. He pulls across to the side, and he will retire from the Bahrain feature race. Unfortunate for HWA. Continuing on again then, now we catch up to Yuki Tsunoda once again. This is now the final lap of the race, and we have to just throw everything at it through these final few corners if we want any chance of overtaking Tsunoda. We throw it into the 2nd to last corner, and we smashed into the back of Tsunoda, damaged the front wing, but yeah, we threw that one away. We couldn't make the move there, and we just tried to carry as much speed as possible, and just carried too much. It was worth a try, but it didn't work out for us. So Yuki Tsunoda is going to hold on, and Tsunoda's going to win the first race of the season. Well done, Yuki, and we'll come across the line for P2.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
A few less mistakes and that could have been a win, but I'm not going to complain too much. Threw everything at it on that final lap at the third to last corner, but yeah, bit of contact.
A great win then for the Carlin team today. Tell me, Davide, what was the key to this success?
This race, this win, was about one thing and one thing only: consistency. Anyone can be quick for just one lap, but there's a difference between that and being quick every lap, over and over and over. If you can do that, if you can gain ground when your opponents make mistakes, but then not make mistakes on your own, you can just push and push.
And there you have it, today's winners. Having raised some of the biggest names in F1 to date, Carlin have once again shown their expertise when it comes to recruiting new talent. No doubt today's winners have a bright future ahead of them. They certainly deserve it after today's performance.
So Yuki Tsunoda takes the first win of the season. We finish up in P2 with Dan TICKTUM in third.
Now, Davide Valsecchi, let me ask you, who is your driver of the day?
Difficult call, but I take Nikita Mazepin. Nikita Mazepin. Nikita Mazepin.
Nikita Mazepin.
He was just special in the using of tires. He managed the tires to the end, and he was the quickest.
After all this drama, you'd be mad not to join us for the next race. We hope to see you then. Take care.
So that brings an end to the first race of the season in Formula 2 here in Bahrain. Pretty eventful one, and not eventful in the right ways, unfortunately, for us. But, oh well, can't win them all, and we did not win the first. Yuki Tsunoda, a great drive, and yeah, we just didn't have an opportunity to overtake him at the end. We just made too many mistakes, and yeah, the first one was right there, going too deep into the first corner, and that put us on the back foot pretty much for the rest of the race. If we managed to keep the lead there, we may well have... well, I don't think we could have led the whole race, because I just had no rhythm at the start either. Just no momentum, no pace really, until I got used to the car and the track a bit more, and sort of relearned how to drive the Formula 2 cars, because it has been a while. There is the Charus car of PK going for a spin. I like that they include that in the highlights now. That's a nice touch. But anyway, yeah, not a great result considering he started on pole, but nonetheless, it's just only the first race of the season. There are plenty more left to go, and we have plenty of opportunities to score big points in the rest of the season. Next opportunity in just a few moments in the sprint race. But yeah, we recovered well after the mistake at the start. We dropped down to 4th, got the undercut, brought ourselves back into contention, and I'm very happy with the second half of the race until the final lap, when things went a bit wrong, or the final few laps when we were fighting with Tsunoda. But nonetheless, we got away with it. So yeah, we didn't lose any positions. I knew there was a big gap to TICKTUM in third, so I didn't need to worry about him. So yeah, I just threw everything at it on that final lap. Thought I'd try and carry a ridiculous amount of speed through that third to last corner, and as you saw, we ploughed into the back of the race leader. So yeah, unfortunate, but oh well, it didn't really affect the end result of the race, so it's no big deal, and we'll be able to try again in the next one. There is that contact with the back of Yuki Tsunoda. Just yeah, trying way too hard there, but it was worth a try. Didn't come off, and would go again now for the sprint race. So let's get into it.
We've reversed the top 8 from yesterday's race to set the grid for the sprint race here today, and the drivers are almost ready on the grid down below.
So here we are on the grid for the sprint race then, here in Bahrain. The hard tyres will be the tyres to use for the entirety of the race, bit of cloud cover potentially at the end there, but no rain as we get ready to go to the 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the Bahrain sprint race. A lot of wheel spin for us there on the initial launch, though not a terrible start. Little bit better would have been nice, as we're being overtaken now down the inside by Yuki Tsunoda as TICKTUM tries to take the fight to Mick Schumacher side by side through the first corner, and it looks like Schumacher's going to hold on to that one as we hold off Yuki Tsunoda a little bit slow on the exit there, as we had to watch out for our teammate and had to back out of potentially a collision with him. Now Tsunoda trying to make an overtake as TICKTUM goes down the inside of Schumacher. We cover off Yuki Tsunoda, but the two cars ahead are going to fight this out through the middle sector. Schumacher maintains the position, but TICKTUM just keeps the nose in. Schumacher has to leave him some space there on the inside, but he's going to get through with the left-hand side of the road here, and Schumacher holds the position ahead of Dan TICKTUM. Now it's our turn to try and make a move on our teammate if we can. We've held off Tsunoda well off the start, so now we need to try and move forward and make sure we outscore the Japanese driver in this race as we drift our way through turn 10, getting a little bit caught up on the outside curb. They're going to be very careful. Luckily the car spun to the inside and not the outside on that occasion, but that can easily go either way. Now on the back of Dan TICKTUM as we've caught up to our teammate, and we're trying to get a nice little switch onto the straight, but just not able to do anything there, and we'll have to try and make the move in the braking zone if we can down the inside of Dan TICKTUM. A little bit deep and late on the brakes there, but TICKTUM isn't going to fight us too hard, and he maintains his position behind us as we pull ahead. Now next up is Mick Schumacher, and we're going to go for a very late move up the inside into this very sharp right-hander of turn 8. That was very late and aggressive. So now our next target is Robert Schwartzman in the other Prema, so let's see if we can chase down the Russian. And now we have DRS along this mini starting straight, and we should be able to keep this gap nice and close as we have a little look to the inside. Not going to be able to make an overtake there, but we should be able to stay close enough here. We seem to have decent pace at the moment, and sitting right on the back of Robert Schwartzman as he was held up in the dirty air just as much as we are. Down the inside though, on the third to last corner, Schwartzman switches back to the inside though, and we're going to run side by side as we head towards the final corner. Schwartzman not giving up this fight, and we're going to have to try and make this work around the outside of the final two corners. Schwartzman gets down the inside and makes the move as we slot in behind the Russian, and we're going to have to try and make another opportunity work for us as we get the DRS along the main straight, and we'll be sitting in the slipstream as we head under the shadow of the grandstand. And now as we close in towards Schwartzman towards the first corner, we're going to make a move down the inside, and we should be able to get the move done here as Schwartzman keeps the fight going around the outside, and this might continue for a while as we have to leave him some room on the inside, but he can't quite keep the nose in, and we make that position and finally get ahead of Robert Schwartzman as he's now under fire from the cars behind. Dan TICKTUM looking for a move there, as now we focus on Luca Giotto up ahead. Mick Schumacher dropping away in this one after having some very decent pace in the first one. He's lost a position to Dan TICKTUM at some point, so interesting to see what happened to him there. But yeah, Mick Schumacher losing pace as we are now closing in to Luca Giotto and Marino Sato, who's having a great race at this stage. He scored points last time out for the Trident team, and Marino Sato once again doing a great job here, so well done to the young Japanese driver. He's currently running in second position, so it's a great effort. Now we're closing in though to Luca Giotto, having a little look to the inside and trying to set up now a good exit onto the second straight. Doesn't really work out for us, but just trying something to get closer to Luca Giotto, but didn't work out on that occasion. Now though, through the middle sector, this is where we gain a lot of time, and you can see how much we're gaining on Luca Giotto through turns 11 and 12, trying to set up a nice run into the final sector where we may be able to make a move very wide there as we're trying to stay out of the dirty air, but it didn't really give us a good exit. It's very difficult to follow when you're that close behind someone, but we might be close enough to go for a move into the first corner if we can get a nice flowing run through this final corner, and we are very close to Luca Giotto. So let's see what we can do here with the DRS. Giotto with a good exit out of the final corner as we go into the 21st lap of the race. Can we make a move? We're a bit too far back at this point. But now we have a look at Marcus Armstrong in the ART, and he retires from the race with a mechanical failure. So unfortunate for the Kiwi driver, he is out of the race. Now we go down the inside and make the move on to Luca Giuliano and almost run into the back of Marino Sato. I was having Belgian flashbacks from the previous game as I made that move, but thankfully we did not spear into the back of Marino Sato. Now that's another mechanical failure for Nobuharu Matsushita, the other Japanese driver in the field, and he is out of the race. And at the same time, we had another incident involving Giuliano ALESI going for a move on Schumacher and spinning out ALESI into the wall, and he is out of the race. The left front wheel torn off of the HWA Race Lab car, and that is a huge mistake from Giuliano ALESI, just not getting things together there, and ALESI is out of the sprint race here, and Schumacher has had an awful race. Remember, ALESI started from the back of this field. He retired from the feature race with a mechanical failure, and now as we see Mick Schumacher plummeting down the order, he must have some serious issues in this race, because he is not going to score points where he sits at the moment. As we continue on, we've made a mistake on the curb. That's contact with Giotto and our teammate Robert Schwartzman, I think, involved as well. He was in very close to the action. What on earth have we just caused there? Here's a replay, and you can see we just got caught up on the curb, smashed into Giotto, and Robert Schwartzman, he just got away with that, passing the C's there. The Russian did a great job to avoid the contact with any of us in that incident. Here's the onboard looking back from Marino Sato, and Luca Giotto with a bit of damage there, I think. We can see on board with him now, and so unlucky for Giotto, just wrong place, wrong time. We lost control, and Dan TICKTUM involved as well, taking out our teammate, and whack. So yeah, that is a disaster for the team. Francois Sicard will not be impressed with this race at all, and yes, the team, absolute disaster. Here's the onboard with Schwartzman, and look how close that was for Robert Schwartzman, and he did a great job to avoid any of those collisions and get through all of the chaos. But for us now, we are going to need to try and get to the end of the race with no front wing, as we run very wide there because we have absolutely no downforce. There goes Yuki Tsunoda and loose debris on the track, but no safety car as things stand at the moment. We're on the second to last lap though, so if we can limp around, we may just be able to hold on to some points here, which could be crucial. Every point is going to count this season, with how close the Formula 2 seasons can be. As Callum Ilott gets past, he wasn't involved in any incidents, so he has a full front wing. But yeah, at the moment we really need to try and get home with some points. Thankfully, Dan TICKTUM with his damage is holding up a huge group of cars behind us, and that's really helping us out. So we are going to have a bit of an advantage there, but yeah, we just need to limp around for one more lap, and we do have a decent gap to the cars behind, but will it be enough? Nikita Mazepin will be the danger man as we have a look. This is Luca Giotto in the pit lane getting a new front wing, so he's opting to get that changed. He had fairly minimal damage. I'm surprised to see him coming into the pits on the final lap, and as we also see Dan TICKTUM in as well, getting a new front wing on his car. Obviously he had significantly more damage, so that's less of a surprise, but we're going to try and limp around because we still have a shot at points. Dan TICKTUM was out of the points when he pit. Now you can see the gap to Nikita Mazepin. It's just over the length of the straight between turns 7 and 8, which is a fairly short shoot, so we don't have a huge gap to play with, but we might just be able to make it if we can keep the car on circuit through turn 10. Horribly slow through there with no front wing. There's absolutely no downforce helping the front wheels to turn. It's all the mechanical grip trying to do the work, and there's not a lot of that at the moment on these tyres, which are quite worn at this stage of the race. Obviously the final lap, and the most laps these tyres have done all weekend, so we do not have a lot of grip to play with, but we're just about holding on and trying to keep this car on the road and off the curbs. But meanwhile up ahead, Jane Deruval has driven a great race. He moves across to greet the checkered flag as he wins the sprint race here in Bahrain. Great drive, Jane Deruval, and we are going to just about hold off Nikita Mazepin as we head to the final corner. Is not quite close enough, but you can see how fast he was gaining. Just tenths and tenths every time we turn the wheel. Mazepin is just closing, but he's not going to have enough. Few more corners maybe, but we're going to hold him off and take P7 here in Bahrain.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Ferme.
I will certainly take that. But too many mistakes this weekend. Just too many mistakes.
So another fantastic victory for Carlin today. So Davide, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
It was down to one thing: consistent pace over everyone else out there on the track. We could spend a great deal of time talking about race and tire strategy, what else occurred on the track, but at the end of the day, the difference here was down to simply being faster on track than everyone else. Amazing skill on show.
And there you have it, today's winners. Having raised some of the biggest names in F1 to date, Carlin have once again shown their expertise when it comes to recruiting new talent. No doubt today's winners have a bright future ahead of them. They certainly deserve it after today's performance.
So, Dane Derouvler takes his first race win of the season. Marino Sato finishes a superb second position for Trident, and Robert Schwartzman lucks into third.
Now, Davide Valsecchi, let me ask you, who is your driver of the day?
Difficult call, but I'd say Roy Nissany. He was committed the entire race, and it's paid off with the result.
That's it for today's race. From Davide and I, it's goodbye, and we'll see you when Formula 2 returns.
What a start to the season it has been for the Carlin team. 2 race wins, 1 for each driver. Marino Sato doing a good job as well all weekend, and he sits in third position at the moment in the championship. We sit second with Tsunoda in the lead, so a decent start for us, but yeah, crazy for Marino Sato. Dane Derouvler sits in fourth, followed by Robert Schwartzman, and then our teammate who we unfortunately took out of the race earlier today. But yeah, crazy. I don't know what happened to Mick Schumacher in that one. He just had absolutely no pace. After he initially held off Dan TICKTUM at the start, he really just fell away. So I don't know what happened to Mick Schumacher, but he clearly had some kind of issue because he just dropped to the back of the field in the sprint race, and eventually there was that incident with ALESI. Schumacher obviously not really involved in that. ALESI lost control behind him, but yeah, he should not have been fighting with ALESI, who started at the back after retiring from the feature race with a mechanical failure. So yeah, I don't think anyone's had a worse start to the season than ALESI, mechanical failure, and then wrecking the car in this one. That's really unfortunate for the Frenchman. But yeah, anyway, other than that though, I think that pretty much covers everything off for this episode. The next round will be in China. Very much looking forward to that one, so I will see you when Formula 2 returns.